I'd like to start the video with a little benchmark that we just hit today, and we hit 40,000 over 40,000 views in a 48-hour period. That's 2 days. So we're doing over 20,000 views per day. So I just wanted to share that with my audience. Say thank you to all my subscribers. Thank you to all my members, and I guess this is kind of going to be like a thank you video. I got oh look, it just went up to 40,500. I hit, let's see where it goes today. So I got a donation yesterday from my son. He is in Jersey, but he works in New York, and he has been diligently collecting, saving his pennies for me, for the channel. And I want to give him a big thank you, send him a lot of love. And um, it means a lot to me, right? So imagine that, how pennies can, well, I guess pennies, a hobby, family, the whole thing, could really bring uh, special moments to people's lives. And I couldn't be happier than to do this uh, video for in recognition of him, and thanking him. And so in 2025, these are the types of pennies you can get from Jersey, New York. He's living in, like I said, lives in Jersey, but he works in New York. And we're going to go through 2 rolls of them today. I'm not sure how long that's going to take, but we're going to do it. And I put a little J on them, and I put a J on the other pennies that he did himself. So future videos, when I see them, I know they are from him. So without further ado, John, this bud's for you. And so I'm going to talk about this for a little bit, and my thoughts on it. I can see there's a ton of copper in here. Well, I don't know about a ton, but there's a lot of copper in here. So, me personally, I have not put pennies. The only times I have put pennies in a penny roll over during this past couple years since the channel has been. Here's our first copper. I can see it right away. Since this channel has been started, was when I brought the zinc cents back to the bank, which I did 2 times. Over the past couple years. And another nice copper penny. And then the last time I started to think about it, right? Because they announced that they might stop making pennies. And I said to myself, maybe you don't want to bring even the zincs back to the bank, because when they stop making pennies, how about if you regret it? How about if zinc cents start selling for 2 cents, for example? Well, then it would be a profit, right? 100% profit. which if you know anything about, this one has a grease strike on the reverse. You can see how weak the letters are in states. And on the reverse, what is that? Let me look at that on my loop and I'll be back. So even though they look like something, like I could clean this up. They do look like something, and there's you could see even in his face, you can see a mark over here that looks like a depression. The problem is because of the corrosion next to it, it really makes it look like if some of this is from corrosion. But those marks really are very, I don't know, they look like letters or something. I'll put it to the side. And you can see the light grease mark over here also. The L is very light. So, well, I'll have to think about that one. So I decided I'm not bringing any of the zincs back to the bank anymore. I brought back $200, and it's just, for me, it's just not worth it. It's not worth, for a couple $100 or whatever. I probably have another 200 in the basement from $200 in the basement, but it's just not worth it for me. So I'm holding on to them, but I did get the experience of wrapping some zinc cents up, and it takes a little bit of work. It takes a little bit of work. So when someone makes a donation to me, I really appreciate it, and I'm aware of the effort that was put into, collecting, saving, wrapping, storing, etc. No flare G of said pennies. So we took a day trip yesterday. We went out to see our I'm not sure what this is. If it's from, you know what? Let me. I'm pretty sure it's just from. What's the word I'm looking for? Let me grab one of my little cloths, my polishing cloths that I keep here. Let me grab one. I'm pretty sure those marks are just from the staining. But let's just check real quick. Because they do make an interesting pattern design on the bottom of the reverse of the coin, and I want to make sure that it's not I don't know if you can see that. It looks like a die clash here. But there's all these other little straight line marks. Let me look at this under the loop. I'll be right back. It looks like a die clash on the bottom, but again, there's also these stains that are running up and down. So I would really have to put this into a solution, because you don't want to say something is a. So you can see it looks like it's raised here. Let me take a picture of this. You can see it looks like it's raised, but I would really have to put this into a solution to take a lot of this other stuff off. I mean, if it's a die clash, it's very interesting looking, and you can see all the staining on the. So that's a little bit of the issue with that one. Still interesting. I got my coffee here also. Saturday morning, boy, I'm telling you, those views are really popping off right there. Now you can imagine in these other channels where they're much more successful than mine, they must be having hundreds of thousands of views per day. You know, these channels where they're doing, you know, hundreds of thousands of. That's nice. I save these hundreds of thousands of views per video, which, you know, mine don't get hundreds of thousands of views per video yet. So we took a day ride out to see our son yesterday, and look at this, man. I keep on stopping because I'm finding all this interesting stuff. Look at the clad, how the clad has changed. The surface has this texture, but it's in such a specific area, right? Very clear here, and then patterny here. Pretty cool looking. And it was a 92. I forgot to check for the close AM. No close AM. The wide AM. And before we left, my son John said, here's some pennies that I've been collecting for you. And he told me the little story behind it. And so he had two bags. Well, he had a box and a bag. The bag had the pennies that he has been using, that he's been saving for me. No white AM. And these are them here, right? So these are my son's personal pennies that from his spending his cash that he just kept putting to the side, and then he wrapped them for me. Super cool. And then he stopped by a bank in Long Island where he works. He stopped by a bank. No white AM. And I'm not. I didn't get into the details. Like, was it a random bank? Was it a bank he happened to have went into? I forgot to ask him that. I have to try to remember to ask him that. Was it a bank by his job? And he asked the lady if she had any customer wrap pennies. And he got a whole box of it. She goes, oh, yeah. Like, she was thankful to see him. She said, nobody out here. This is what he told me. She said, we have all these pennies, and nobody asked for pennies out here. And the first thing that came to my mind was, and I said this the other day, we just got a new member, Gino, who is also from New York. And I had shout out to Gino. And oh, look at that. It's pretty cool. That's a ejection or feeder error. Most likely not from the mint. Ejection or feeder damage. I'm sorry. Ejection. Error would be from the mint. Damage is from. They're both damaged, but this is non-mint damage. Okay. So, and she gave him a box of pennies. This has to be about from the weight that I felt, there's probably close to $20 in pennies in it, if I recall correctly. About $20 worth of pennies, which is 40 penny rolls, give or take. And I can't stop thinking about this because out here, Pennsylvania is a commonwealth. Okay, and I'm going to tell you what my understanding of what a commonwealth is. I'm going to look it up. I'm not sure how many commonwealths are in America, but I like to know how many commonwealth states are there in the U.S. There are 4. Okay, I thought that's what it was. Actually, I thought it was 5. Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and Virginia. So my understanding is Commonwealth states are like welfare states. And again, I'm probably wrong about this, but if it is a misconception, then it's a common misconception. But they're like welfare states. They're where people go who have disabilities, who are unemployed. And now that I'm looking at which states they are, they're like, I'm surprised West Virginia is not a commonwealth. But they're like coal mining states, Anyway. So it does not. So to me, my experience here is that, like, if you live in New York and you walk around during when the days that they throw out garbage, you'll find stuff that you can like use, like chairs, tables, TVs, computers. Look at this. We got an S. Holy moly. We got an S. You'll find stuff like that in New York, right? Because people got money and they will, what's that, but a 72S? I just want to see what the mintage is on that. 72S, 376 million. Yeah, it's pretty low. The 73 is a little lower at 317 million. Yeah, they didn't make too many. If you look at the P for 1972, there's 3 billion, right? So there's 10 times more Philadelphias than they are. So I always hold on to the S's. I have a special tube I put the heavily circulated S's into, and I have one other one that I put the nicer ones into. In Pennsylvania, everywhere I've lived in Pennsylvania, if you leave a chair outside, someone's taking it. Okay? If you leave a table outside, someone's taking it. If you leave a what's that called? A microwave outside, someone's taking it. If you leave clothes outside, there are people, they go into the dumpsters and they take the clothes out of the Salvation Army drop-offs. That's the way it is out here. They're just poor. This is like where poor people come. Point blank and simple. Yes, there are areas where people are loaded. But the vast majority of areas out here are poor. And that kind of mentality kind of permeates throughout the state. So I think I mentioned this before. Um, there was a bank I used to go to, and I guess when they found out I was making YouTube videos, they started telling me they didn't have pennies. And it's that type of low um, uh, type of a thinking that you find a lot out here. Just a very impoverished mentality that you don't find in other places where people just have a higher standard of living. For example, that type. Oh, I collect these too. That type of a statement. Oh, thank God you're here. We have so many. You never hear something like that out here. It's like, oh, you want pennies, and they look at you like you're asking them for their firstborn or something. You know what I mean? And that's more of the type of uh, response you get from even professionals out in Pennsylvania. So I gotta be honest, I got a little jealous when he was like, it's like if they were waiting for someone to come in so they could, because I'm saving pennies, right? Which is the lowest denomination of any currency that anyone should care about, right? Because what the banks do is, for those of you who don't know, is when customers bring pennies in, they not most of the time when customers bring pennies in, they're wrapped, and those are called customer wrapped pennies. CWP, customer wrapped pennies. CWP. We're on the second roll now for those of you who I didn't mention it, and and what the bank does is they order pennies, so some banks keep boxes and boxes. Like there's one bank where I went to a couple times, and their attitude is so poor there, um, that I just stopped going, because every time I went, they just kept on looking at me like I was robbing them or something. You know what I mean? Like they took it so personal. Like you want you want to come here and disturb us for our pennies? And I was just like, oh, geez, man, you forget about. I'm not even going to deal with you guys anymore. And every time I went there, they're like, oh, we don't have any. And a couple of times I went, they said they only had the federal pennies. And when they opened the door, I saw they had boxes and boxes and boxes to the office that's behind their station. And they brought it out, and I was like, no, I wanted customer wrap pennies. Oh, we don't have any of those. And I said, I'll take it, right, just to have a couple boxes of federal wrap pennies. I said, oh, I'll take them. So I have boxes of federal wrap pennies. In the event I want to switch up my what's that called? My content. If I want to switch up my content, another 82 copper. Then I have some federal wrap pennies. I got I got a box and a half. I went through some already. 1989 D, last year, that mint mark is punched onto the die. This is the last year in the United States of pennies that they hand punched the mint mark on the hammer die, the working hammer die, last year. So if if they were like that out here, I would be made in the shade. Like if every time I went to a bank, and I don't even know if he was a another 2017. I don't even know if he was a member there. They're just different. You know, if you travel, right? There's a lot of people in Pennsylvania who never left the state of. I've met when I was working in an office out here. I met a lot of people doing social services who never left the state, and I met some who never left the county. But if you travel around, you'll meet different types, different classes of people, interesting people, and different ways of thinking depending on where you go in the United. You don't have to go to a foreign country to feel like you're in a foreign country in the United States. You could go to a different state and you'll feel like you're in a foreign country where they speak this. The United States is one of the most unbelievable places in the world. You can try if you travel around. I've driven from coast to coast twice, and the amount on a daily basis you will be in a different state where people talk different, sound different, behave different, and it's unbelievable. A lot of people here, but in the Commonwealths, especially in Pennsylvania. So, I've been in Pennsylvania for a long time now, and I've been around Pennsylvania, and I've been in the poorest areas of Pennsylvania, so I could really give an opinion about it. Is a lot of people come to Pennsylvania from other states, mostly New York, Jersey, and then some foreign countries. And because it's a little cheaper here, another 2017. It's a little cheaper here, and the cost of living is a little cheaper. Houses are a little cheaper, so people come out here for that. And so it has a kind of a lot of a. It does have a New York vibe, but like I said, it's a lot of disabled, working poor, and stuff like that. But one of the things that I do is I'm on a mission to try to get $1,000 in penny rolls or 2,000 penny rolls, right? At the minimum before they stop making them in the United States. That's my goal because of the channel. So you can imagine how discouraging it is when I go into a place and I say, "Oh, do you have any customer wrap pennies?" And they look at me like, well, why are you bothering me for? Why do you know, like, do you know how much those pennies are worth? Type of a deal, And it's like, oh, I still do it because honestly, at this point, I got no choice. This is my mission. So of course, when people donate or give, here goes another 2017 P. It has the crimp roll line in it. That's our third. It's our fourth one today. That's nice. And then it was pretty cool to hear his, my son's recounting of events that he went in there and that they were so. It's like at least it gives me. I have to be honest. It gives me some faith and hope that not everybody's the same, and that people in other places have a different way of thinking and living and behaving, right? Because it really comes down to our personal behavior when you think about in life, right? How people treat each other. And I've never had that experience before, going in and dealing with someone who's well, one of my banks I go to, I have to say they're nice there. I mean, they're not jumping hand over heels to give me pennies. Don't get me wrong. Like he said, they were over there. Like, oh my God, thank God someone's here for our pennies. But they are pleasant, and in a couple of the banks, and they are accommodating. To me, they behave in a way professionals just should behave. That's our fifth one. So that's pretty cool. This penny roll has much less copper than the first one. The first one had, I think, like 7 or 8 copper pennies. This one we're on about 4. Make that 5. See that little mark, right? But you can see the scratch also above it. So I just wanted to talk about that. Obviously, say a big thank you and send a lot of love to my son John, and to again also say a little to acknowledge no close AM, acknowledge a little bit of my jealousy that I think if that was the behavior out here when I asked for pennies at a bank, right? Because I go to several different branches, so that I'm telling you, because if not, I really feel I remember the one bank I went to, and I asked them for pennies, and they pulled out like a roll of pennies. So I was like, no, how many pennies do you got? They're like, well, how much do you need? I was like, I don't know. If you have $30 in pennies, I'd like to get there. Oh, you have to have a business account. They actually told me I had to have a business account. I mean, they went the extra mile not to help me. And that was the only time. And then I said, yeah, but I do have a business account. And I saw that they were like, ugh, so that's the type of crap, I deal with, and that's the bank that I don't go to anymore. It's just like, they think that the pennies are. So I think they watched my videos, and they saw that like some of the pennies. I said, "Oh, this one's worth a couple dollars," and the only thing I could assume is that maybe they have a family member or something, or a friend who collects pennies, and they said, "Hey, did you know these?" And they're like, "Oh, I want the pennies from now on." And they're like, "Okay, I'll bring you the pennies." And now they have no more pennies for the customers or for me. And that is so typical PA. Let's just put it like that. That's garbage picker, low mentality. Which, don't get me wrong, I pick through the garbage too if I see something I want. My wife would never get caught dead doing anything like that, but and I like PA. I might even say I love Pennsylvania. The nature. I mean, there's a lot of parks. It's a beautiful place. But if you're a penny collector, it could be a little tight. And if I was out in a different place where I could, then that's all of the whole video, besides saying thank you and my appreciation, is to lament about how, if I was someplace else, which I'm not going to drive right out to New, I mean, unless I spent like a weekend or a week just traveling around banks, I mean, we're talking about the expense would be probably pretty high. Now, I'm not saying I'm above doing that. If they ever mention, yeah, that they're going to, like a deadline when they're going to stop making pennies, and I haven't reached my goal, I might do something like that. Just spend a weekend out in New York. Well, the weekend they're a little busier, probably during the week, like a Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and stay in a hotel for a night or two and just go to banks and maybe dress a little nicer so they don't ask me, because they could ask you for ID, to serve you. Some banks don't. 2024. We didn't find that one 2023 in all these roles. I thought that was pretty weird. No double ear. No doubling on the shield. And just keep going to banks and asking for pennies for like a couple weekends, and let me tell you, they're heavy. I would probably have to put about I try to get about 300-400 pounds in penny rolls, and maybe do it with my wife if she would come out with me. And to hit my goal, I have to say again, thank you. And it was a fresher breath, a breath of a fresher breath air. You heard, I had my tongue twisted. It was a breath of fresh air to hear that that they behaved that way. 60D. The O looks kind of thin, so I'm thinking this is the large date. That's about as far as my knowledge goes with the small and large dates for the 1960s. So I save these also. I put them in tubes. I don't divide them by small large date because I can't tell the difference. I think the skinny O's are the large date. So, but I put them, all the 1960 D's go into the same tube, and then when I'm done, I'll put them into a roll, a wrapper. So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. I hope you enjoyed the video. Little different content today. If you send me a donation, which I've gotten several times, then I will acknowledge that during the video of what I got, who I got them from, where I got them, and all of that, and say a thank you to you. Um, so thank you, John. I really appreciate that. I know it takes time and sacrifice to be nice to others. It's a little bit more difficult for people, and I guess a little bit more of a challenge, obviously, for some people to be nice and pleasant to others, and probably even harder for some to love their neighbors. And I guess what I would say is, I know it's difficult for me sometimes. I'm from New York, and I'm from the streets of New York. So there's a part of my brain still that has that primitive thinking, that street mentality. And I've worked very hard throughout my life well, to be different. And um, obviously, I am a follower of Christ, and I think about what Jesus would do, and even if it's in contrary to what I believe or feel or think at the moment, I try. I try, man. I try, and I guess that would be my only advice to others, would be to ask yourself, are you trying? And if your response is, I don't care, or you know something along those lines, then you should, because really the only thing it speaks to is how you're treating others the way you were most likely treated in your life, and you're passing that misery along to other people, and you're really perpetuating that sadness. So, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Thank you. God bless. This is I think this is 488. This is episode 488. I will see you in episode 489.